In the long reign of a single queen, Britain changed the world and was itself utterly transformed. Queen Victoria came to the throne in 1837. By the time she died in 1901, we had made the modern world.
It was a time of brilliant engineering, pioneering innovation, all of it driven by fearless men and women who dreamt big and shaped the country we live in today.
Fast and effective new transport systems shrank the world.
You travel further, faster. The railways compress space and time.
Startling innovations above and below ground saved lives.
We'd grab the saw like this.
It's more like carpentry than surgery.
Groundbreaking ideas nurtured our minds and souls.
It was feeling like you were dancing in one of the great European palaces.
And a revolution in law and order set us on course for the freedoms we take for granted today.
You're brought from the darkness of the prisons into this glory.
It's fantastic, isn't it?
It is.
This is the story of how the Victorians built Britain.
In 1837, Britain's new monarch gained more than a crown.
She inherited a crime wave. People were pouring into the cities in search of a better life and making them a hunting ground for criminals. But as the crime rate soared, so did the official response. From prisons to policing, Queen Victoria's Britain spearheaded a revolution in the justice system. They were tough. In one sense, the metaphorical sense, they didn't take any prisoners. In the real sense, they took lots of them. Right up to the Victorian era, we were a harsh and unforgiving lot. Under what was known as the Bloody Code, just stealing a handkerchief could end up with the death penalty, or at least a public whipping. Even a night on the tiles could end up with you in the stocks, being pelted with rotten fruit.
During the 63 years Victoria was on the throne, huge strides were made building a more humane penal system. But at the start of her reign, crime was soaring. The authorities were keen to get rid of undesirables, from murderers and rapists to petty criminals. The solution was to export them.
So they turned once again to the empire. After all, out of sight was out of mind. The further the better. Soon they were transporting 4,000 British convicts a year to Australia, making it one of the most common forms of Victorian punishment. And before they set off on their perilous journey to the colonies, many of them would have been held here, on Ireland's Alcatraz.
Originally the site of a 7th century monastery, Spike Island in Cork Harbour on Ireland's south coast eventually became a military fortress. With Ireland under British rule, it was designed to stave off attack from Napoleon. In 1847, the fort was converted into a jail, capable of holding up to 2,300 prisoners. Many were from mainland Britain, destined for transportation.
This is enormous. Is it the biggest prison in Britain and Ireland?
It is. It's the largest ever prison in Britain and Ireland. And during that 1850s period, there's no record of a larger prison anywhere in the world.
Anywhere in the world?
Anywhere in the world.
How did it fit into the whole transportation story?
The prisons in Britain and Ireland were really full to bursting point at that stage, you know.
Yeah.
So they needed a place to hold them in what was effectively a convict depot.
So a lot of the people who were brought here were then transported?
Absolutely. I mean, Cork Harbour has over 40,000 recorded transportees going through its gates, you know, major numbers. And the population of Australia today, as many as 20% can trace their actual origins right back here to Cork Harbour.
In total, around 165,000 convicts were transported to Australia. They provided what amounted to slave labour. The cost of transporting them was offset by the need to provide fewer prison places at home. Spike Island was their final stop, before the perilous 11,000-mile sailing.
Why was the government so keen on transportation?
First of all, it got rid of people that you didn't want. It was an opportunity to ship that problem elsewhere. They were a source of free labour as well. And for an empire-building nation, as Britain was at the time, this was a way to build those places.
And what did you have to do to be transported?
There certainly were some serious offenders being sent out there, but the majority really were for petty crimes. So stealing something just worth a shilling, like a handkerchief, or even stealing potatoes, could get you 7 years transportation overseas.
The opening of the jail on Spike Island coincided with the failure of the Irish potato crop. The Great Famine claimed around 1 million lives. In desperation, many more were driven to theft, swelling prisoner numbers. By night, most were chained together in overcrowded dormitories. By day, forced into hard labour.
Gosh, out of the light into the darkness.
Absolutely.
It is an island, but did anybody actually attempt to escape from here?
Henry Swears was a fantastic individual who came here apparently in the prime of his life and one of the strongest men you could meet. He was described as an ox who could do the work of 8 men. During his time, he constantly tried to escape by swimming away to the mainland. And this actually happened so many times that they got special permission to tie him up in chains. So when he left his cell, he'd actually have chains swung over his shoulders, a lock tied to prevent him from trying to escape off the island.
Those who tried to escape were banished to the punishment block, along with the most violent inmates.
This particular part was used for some of the worst offenders, so they really did get some of the worst treatment imaginable.
The 28 isolation cells are around 9 feet long and just 7 feet wide.
So, this is the ultimate in punishment cells, eh?
Absolutely. I mean, these were called the dark cells, and they certainly live up to their name. Completely windowless, completely furnitureless as well. So once you were locked in here, you were left on your own for up to 23.5 hours a day in complete darkness.
And you were chained?
You were chained to the wall. You'll actually see down here at the bottom a hole that actually directly shows where the chains came from. Right. So they were actually shackled by the neck, held by the arms and by the legs as well. So it's unimaginable conditions.
How long did people spend typically in these cells?
As many as 8 years, we've heard. We've heard reports of prisoners have been sent in here and serving their entire time in these dark cells. So just unimaginable treatment.
And what were they like when they were finally released?
Completely broken men. Most didn't last at all. Even if you're left in your 40s, many of them would have passed away within a couple of years of having left these conditions because they were completely destroyed.
5 minutes is nothing. I mean, it is in every sense chilling, isn't it?
It is, it absolutely is. It's not a place you could imagine, I think, in our modern times.
Yeah.
Spike Island Prison closed in 1883, by which time it had claimed the lives of over 1,200 men and boys.
It's quite a relief to climb up out of the fort. You get a sense of concentrated misery down there. Up here, though, if you look one way, past the fort, you can see the very pretty town of Cove, and for them, the past, I suppose, the places they'll never go to again, the loved ones they'll never see. And if you look this way, out to sea, you'll see their future being transported, lucky if they survive, to the other side of the world for a life of hard labour.